Holla ballers and welcome to the Siege of Boralus, the first of the two currently mythic only dungeons in Battle for Azeroth, which has been a little while to get into. You've got to be a capped character, you need an organized group, and I'm going to warn you right now, this is one of the jankiest dungeons I've ever had the mispleasure of testing. In its current state in live, I'm sure it's going to be fine, but I've got to include some of the more notorious things that happen in here, or happen to us on our journey. There is another currently mythic-only dungeon called King's Rest. Unfortunately, it's way overtuned. Like, players have about 50k, about 80k HP, but things are hitting for like 50k dots that tick every second in there, so it's pretty bad. And they've broken, or they fixed, I should say. They fixed a lot of the items that were allowing people to sort of just murder everything to death and just go through the dungeon just to see it. So hopefully it'll be fixed soon. It might even be fixed today. We did get a brand new build, but I haven't been in today. We do have raid testing tonight with the final boss in Uldia, so hopefully I'll get in there over the weekend or something like that. So let's focus on the Siege of Boralus. There is a good story reason why this is a dungeon you're not supposed to do till 120. That's all I'm going to say. It's not, one thing I will clear up though, it's not the Horde, because this is a Horde and Alliance dungeon. It is not the Horde taking over Boralus. It is dealing with a situation that is occurring in Boralus, because of course Boralus is the home city, or the big land point for the Alliance in Battle for Azeroth. There is a reason we're there, and it's not to destroy Boralus, but we are inside the city, which is very cool. So moving inside, looks gorgeous. I saw a load of people give feedback that they did not like the look of this place. I actually really like it. The city's on fire. It's burning. Clearly, it's a bad place to be. Has a Stratholme vibe to it. For those of you who've been down to Stratholme, where it's just a grim, Strat Undead is what we would call it, instead of Strat Live. Strat Undead feel to it. Very tight, close streets, lots of action going on in the streets, and various paths to get through here. We spent a huge amount of time, because there's no map currently in the beta, trying to find where the bosses are, because you could go down many streets, many paths to find different things and look around where you're going to go. You can go into the boats, because obviously there's a dock there. That's the whole point, looking for things to go on there. So I liked the feel. I like the theme. The run back is horrendous though. You don't get a checkpoint till boss number 2, and you do have to go through a lot of windy streets to get back to where you want to be, should you wipe in here. Whether that's intentional for Mythic Plus timers, that if you do wipe, they want it to be far more punishing, rather than just getting up and getting straight back into the action, as you can do in plenty of dungeons. This time you're going to have to take quite a windy route until you checkpoint off after boss number 2. Let's go to the first boss, Sergeant Bainbridge. As you can see, you fight him in kind of a weird environment. It's an openish area, but it's got lots of environment stuff in the middle of it. And this guy is like pretty much not tanked, and he has one-shot abilities. This is Mythic 0. This is the base Mythic 0. And again, this stuff might be tuned later. There is very good arguments to be say that the stuff is a little overtuned now, and our characters are a little undertuned. We were rolling around 330, between 310 330 for this dungeon. So that seems about right. The dungeon drops 340, so I would expect that to be reasonably where you're supposed to be if you're in a competent group in order to get through here. So Sergeant Bainbridge is a big meaty dude. His whole thing is spawning ads, which can be CC'd, and then basically chasing people. He has this iron gaze that he fixates on people, and he's going to hunt you down. And should you stand in the way of him, he's going to smash you in the face and one-shot you, which you can see here. I thought, and in this clip here, I thought the tank was coming towards me, just kiting him towards me, and he just punched me straight in the jaw and killed me instantaneously. I was like, whoa, dude, what's going on here? Not a difficult boss, though, by any means. Not difficult. Even in this lowish gear, we managed to take it out relatively effectively. Was cool, though. Very enclosed, having to kite this guy around, dealing with different ads, prioritizing which ads needed to die. He spawned 2 different types. Dealing with all the explosions and the cannon barrages, things like that were going on. And then finally getting back to the boss and trying to find efficient ways of DPSing. Very cool. Next was the worst boss in there. Because I don't think this boss was in any way bugged. It's just annoying. Very, very annoying. Dredd Captain Lockwood. It's a gimmick fight. Oh. Gimmicks sometimes just don't work. Sometimes they're fantastic. Sometimes they're really fun. Sometimes they just don't work. And this is a big gimmick fight. The big gimmick here is that Dredd Captain Lockwood will periodically jump back to her ship and start shooting cannonballs at you. You then kill the ads that she spawns, and then you shoot her back with the cannon. She has a very silly it's not fun. She has a very silly mechanic where if she's not slowed, or snared in any way, shape, or form, she will never stay in melee range. So what that means, if your class doesn't have a snare, this happened to us, is we didn't know what was going on. A couple of players died, and it basically ended up with me, the healer, and I'm on my mage, and the tank. And it was kind of okay, but once I got killed by something, the tank and the healer didn't have a snare. So the boss, as you can see here, just jumps forever and will never let you target it. And as soon as she fills up to full energy again, she goes back to the boat and repeats with the ads, which makes it so, I mean, it's an anti-wipe prevention tool. It looks really stupid, though. That's the thing with it. It's not a bad idea, and I could preempt it. So a little tip here is I know where she's going to land when she jumps back off the boat. So if I precast a blizzard there, so she was immediately slowed as soon as she appeared, she wouldn't move. If I didn't do that, I didn't have time to cast a spell on her that would slow her before she'd leap off to some random location. It's a goofy fight. It just looks really dumb when it's happening. Whether or not it's supposed to work like this, I mean, it does indicate she has this buff, which means she won't stay in melee. It's supposed to be this way. Interesting. Not fun, just felt stupid. It felt like a kiddie kind of, it felt just really childish. It was like, what a dumb idea. Why can she just leap around all the time unless she's a bit cold? Not that fun. Hadal Darkfathom. This fight was definitely wonkily broken. He's a huge dude. I will point out this really interesting thing here. So to get to this boss, you have to go up a street that has some archers in front of it, but there's no like environmental block. Now I'm assuming there's going to be some environment that blocks this, but you can't go up the road. Instead, you have to stop, turn around, circle around several buildings, and then come back to the exact street you were just on, just a few meters ahead of you. But there's nothing blocking you from going up there. Like physically, there's nothing there. There's no wall. There's no like crashed carts or anything like that. And it's really quite weird. Not only that, you could grip people through it. But you will get a checkpoint at the last boss, but it's still very odd, and I hope they fix this. I will say that the trash leading to Hadal Darkfathom involves a lot of monkeys. Again, a very weird, almost childish feel to this dungeon. Starts off looking quite sinister and ominous, and then when you get in there, it's really quite goofy and silly. So you've got a lot of bananas being thrown around, things like that. You know, Banana Storm. Kind of goes hand in hand with Freehold, with having, like, Sharknado, which is kind of funny. But, I don't know, all the bananas and stuff mixed into this siege, it does sort of make sense for the story. So it's forgivable. It just feels very out of place, is all I'm trying to say here. It just feels very out of place. So Hadal Darkfathom is going to be a super interesting boss on Tyrannical. The whole purpose of this is he has several abilities that drop pools everywhere. But then in the middle of it, he's going to do a Sartharian-style wave. You know, the fire waves that come out of the lava. And there's a large statue in the middle of the room, which is going to create a gap for you. But the waves are extremely fast, like extremely fast. Right now, they might fix it. And they also don't do a great deal of damage yet. So what we had is, there was no way of we've tried to do it properly, which was get the tank in, and then we all avoided it. But unfortunately, you start dropping pools in this very small area you have to deal with. And I think you can stand outside and let it block you. So you can stand, once the hole's there, you can stand anywhere you want. But where that hole's going to come from is a mystery, because it could go from north, south, east, or west. So there's it's an interesting fight, because it fills the whole room very quickly with the pools and stuff like that. We managed to defeat it pretty quickly, but still, mechanics-wise, I think they need to be very careful how they balance this, or it could get way out of hand. Let's move down to the last boss. I don't think this has worked at all. I don't think this has worked at all. Okay, Vic Goth. Okay, Vic Goth. So this is kind of like a hell yeah. Let me explain the fight. So Vic Goth, you can DPS Vic Goth, but it takes like barely any damage. Instead, what you have to deal with are two tentacles. One of the tentacles is a gripping tentacle, and that has hold of a man. All right. There's another one which is like a destructor tentacle, which will slam the ground and also pulsate. I think it's called hull break or something like that. And that's going to AoE the whole pie. So you need to get rid of both. And you have 2 beaches and 1 shipwreck around the boss. So where you start is on the first beach. Once you kill the gripping tentacle, that will release the man, the NPC man. The man will then run and repair a cannon on the beach. Once the cannon is repaired, you can jump in and you have to aim. And you do physically have to aim it. You can miss this. You have to aim the cannonball at Vic Goth, and then fire. And that will do like 33% of his health, right? then the tentacles will spawn on a different beach. So for us, it started on the main beach and it never altered its order. And then on the left-hand side, that's when the next beach was. At the same time, Vigoth is going to be doing things like throwing fish. Throwing fish at you, which one-shot you. One-shotting fish. And there's also a debuff if you go in the water that's stacking shark debuff. And this happens throughout the dungeon. If you go in the water, you start getting a stacking shark debuff. And if you should get 10 stacks of sharks, a shark just appears and eats you. On top of that, in the boss, there is a crushing tentacle coming from Vigoth. So if you stay in the water for too long, you will get crushed by this tentacle and be drowned to death. Now, this fight certainly isn't finished because getting onto the shipwreck is incredibly hard. Some people can get on, like, demon hunters could get up, things like that. We started using potions that turned us into floating clouds, so sea mist potions they were called. So what we had to do is not time it so you never took any damage, and then turn into a cloud, and then go over to the ship for the final cannon, and then hope you could jump on top, which I didn't manage to do. I was jumping on the boxes, they were blocked off. Which terrain you could actually stand on, and which was just, like, terrain which was impenetrable, was nigh impossible to figure out, and you had less than 10 seconds to find where to go. That was the situation with this fight. And then you're going to do this, you do the same on each platform. You kill the gripping and the destructive tentacles, you fire the cannon, you move to the next beach, and then you do the same again. And then the boss dies, and he doesn't die, he just swims away. I will leave you guys to decide. Is it funny and goofy, this fight, or does it just look really silly and gimmicky? Because for me, it felt really silly and gimmicky. It didn't feel like it was interesting or fun. It just felt like I kind of get it, but maybe not. But there's certainly some mechanics where apparently you're supposed to go in the water, and sometimes you're supposed to be on land. Reading through the dungeon journal, there's this combination of ideas that are supposed to go on there. And again, getting onto, I'm sure there's supposed to be some sort of jumping game or something. Maybe I missed it. Some people said they found it. We didn't find it, and we had like 5 or 6 pulls on this. While figuring out the best way of getting onto the shipwreck at the end. The fight isn't hard. It was one of those fights that were wiping on nothing, due to nothing to do with us like not being able to actually do the fight. It was just figuring out what we're supposed to do. But there you go. This is the first Mythic only dungeon, the Siege of Boralus. I will bring King's Rest to you as soon as I possibly can. But enjoy that, guys, because it's pretty cool to be in there. I'd love to see your thoughts on this. I'd love to see your thoughts on the bosses as well. Are they gimmicky, or are they just a bit of fun? They take it a little too serious. You guys let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.